What's up, Thrashers, and welcome back once again to the Thrash Maniac 99 YouTube channel, and I am back with yet another album review for you guys. And today I am talking about the latest offering from New Jersey dissonant technical death metalers Replicant with Infinite Mortality. Also came out on April 12th, this time on Transcending Obscurity Records. And this is their third album overall, and my first time checking out this band, and when I heard this band is all about dissonance and chugs, I knew I was in for quite the uncomfortable listen, but in a good way. And it kicks things off with Acid Mirror, and this song pretty much sets the tone for everything this album is going to deliver to you. Gross riffs, lots of dissonance, groove, chug, just dive bombs and blast beats, angular riffing, there's even a really cool breakdown, some descending leads, even like vocals that sound like he's in anguish, and eerie clean guitars. So basically, like, the mood that you're getting on this album, it's unsettling, it's uncomfortable, and it just makes you feel uneasy by the time you finish up this album. And basically for my notes, I just wrote like chugs, groove, dissonance, angular riffs on almost every song, because every single song hangs on to dissonance, groove, and chug, but it definitely helps to add dynamic whenever they add the groove and chugs with the dissonance on top. But Shrine to the Incomprehensible, this one, the guitars get a little bit more odd, almost like Demolich. And there are some Demolich vibes here and there on this album, but the main bands I kind of hear influences from are like Immolation, Gorguts, and Ulcerate, because what better bands to go for dissonance than those four bands? You know, Demolich, Gorguts, Ulcerate, Immolation. And even in the rhythms on this track definitely get into that vein, and even some Immolation style riffs pop up here and there. Even Dark Chants and a tremolo melody, which there are tremolo riffs on the album, but they kind of all follow a similar mold, whereas this one was definitely unique because it sounded a little bit more melodic. Orgasm of Bereavement, which I think is one of the best song titles I have seen this year. This one, the riff that starts it off, kind of made me think of Morbid Angel a little bit, but then it turns into dissonance, but it grooves hard and on a brutal level. And on top of that, another thing I wanted to mention too is the production. I like the production on this album. It's murky, it's nasty, but the thing that I love the most about the production is the mix itself, especially with the bass. Like, the bass work on this album is masterful. Like, the bass, it's prominent in the mix, you can hear it, and you can pick out individual parts, like here in Orgasm of Bereavement. And there were several times on this album, and it starts with this song where the vocals get so dry and gnarly, I almost thought, is he trying to channel Martin Van Drunen a little bit at certain parts to kind of sound like he's being tortured to death? Because that's definitely what it sounded like to me. And then Reciprocal Abandonment, total immolation worship at the very beginning, and then it just gets flat out haunting and disturbing, and then you get more Gorguts worship popping up here and there, and even one time on this album, you get some triplet patterns on this track before you even get some, dare I say, black metal shrieks during the breakdown on this track, and then it gets almost jazzy, kind of bringing in more of that tech death flair into the album. And then dive bombs and taps are happening, and the bass line towards the end, disgusting. And then after the pointless interlude, we get into Pain Enduring, which this one might have been the most tech death forward, because the guitars are very technical, but the drum work at the beginning is just flying. Some nice crawling riffs, even a bass melody, which I really, really liked. And then Necrotunnel. This one, it's groove and chug city all the way through. Even some like little squeals in the riffs here and there, but even one big groove where there's a more catchy riff, and which I wouldn't say there's a whole lot of catchiness to it. It's more about the dissonance and the atmosphere and the discomfort it leads you down. And it just flat out descends into utter madness. Dwelling on the Threshold, less than 3 minutes, but man, they knew how to pack in some ulcerate levels of rhythms and dissonance and chug and angular riffs within under 3 minutes. And then the closing track at a little over 9 minutes, Planet of Skin. It's atmospheric to start off before you get this like really cool build up into a big crescendo with the drums and the dissonance building up to, again, more immolation worship. And it even gets a little bit doomy for just a little period of time. And then you suddenly get more of a galloping riff with a groove on top, but it alternates between it and the dissonant riffs that are going on. Even some of the dissonants kind of get a little bit melodic. And of course, the bass work, I would say this song is really where the bass shines the most in terms of providing melody and playing along with a rhythm while the dissonance is doing its own thing, and even more eerie, clean guitars as the song goes along. So, like I said, pretty much this whole album, the best way to describe it, it's all about feeling uncomfortable, feeling terrified, and perhaps even feeling like uneasy and kind of queasy a little bit, to in a good way, I mean, because this chugging dissonance that this album's going for, it's top notch. As far as any complaints that I have about this album, apart from the pointless interlude, SCN 9A, yeah, perhaps some, like, it might get a little bit much when it comes to just doing, like, a formula of, let's play some dissonant riffs, some chugs, and some grooves. Would have been cool to hear some, like, more dynamics in terms of, like, getting more into, like, almost post-metal levels of calmness, kind of like what Ulcerate does, or even get, like, thrashy at times, like, get into some more thrashy rhythms or some more black metal moments. But aside from that, I thought this album was really damn good. So I am going to go ahead and give this a 4 out of 5. In terms of dissonance and chugging guitars within death metal, this is probably one of the better albums you're going to hear that from so far this year. That is, at least until the new Ulcerate album comes out here in a couple months. But if you're a fan of Ulcerate, Immolation, Gorguts, and even Demolich, check this album out. But of course, those are just my thoughts. What did you guys think of Infinite Mortality by Replicant? Let me know in the comments, and until next time, thank you for watching. Like, comment, share, subscribe. Keep your horns high, and your dreams wet.